Welcome back to page 121. Today's topic, the monk from the Player's Handbook. We're going to take a look at the monk as it was written and as first played when I started D&D in 1980. And I had a monk that I started in 1980. And I'm going to talk about the class itself and the good, the bad, and the ugly with it. And this is going to be part one. The reason it's going to be part one is there were two other versions of monks that were played at my table as part of first edition, and I'm going to take a look at those other two in two other videos. So today is just going to be the original monk as written, a guy I did play and had a chance to DM a couple of guys with monks straight out of the Player's Handbook, and we're going to talk about what was good about them and what was really bad about them. Also, today I want to mention subscribers. Everybody who's subscribed, thank you very much. The channel's growing very nicely. I'd like to keep it growing. So if you haven't subscribed yet, come on in. If you know some folks that are on the fence, have them come on in. We talk about games there a lot. Also, I have a Patreon going right now. There's rewards for the Patreon. It's over there at Patreon. There'll be a link below. If there's anything you can do to help out on Patreon, I'd appreciate it. So that's all I've got to say on those two things. Back to the important stuff today. The Monk from the Player's Handbook for first edition AD&D. Okay, the Monk from the Player's Handbook. I was so excited about playing this guy when I first read the Player's Handbook. I thought, wow, this is a super class. I can't believe they allow this in D&D. This is going to be so much fun. Nah. I started a monk in 1980. I named him Bloje Mayfair. Bragging rights to anybody who can put in the comments why I would name my monk Bloje Mayfair. There is a reason. It's kind of a pun. So anybody that knows that, go ahead and just put the comment below, and we'll see if you're right. So the monk is the most unusual of characters, the hardest to qualify for, and perhaps the most deadly. Well, the first two parts of that sentence are correct. To be a monk, you have to qualify with really high statistics. You have to have the minimum abilities of 15 strength, 15 wisdom, 15 dex, and 11 con. You never gain any experience points bonus, and dexterity gives them no armor class adjustment. So, okay, you're starting out at armor class 10, and you can't move that with the statistics, so you stay at AC 10. They're monastic ascetics who practice rigorous mental and physical training and discipline in order to become superior. By the way, just in my opinion here, I believe the monk class as written is written primarily based on the old Kung Fu TV show and maybe a smattering of some of the karate comics that were around in the 70s. I watched the Kung Fu show when it was out. I enjoyed it. I've also read many of the karate comics from the 70s, and yeah, that's where this came from. And that gives a breakdown. You have to be lawful to be a monk, but you can be lawful good, lawful neutral, or lawful evil. It shows the monk, brief study shows that monks appear to be quite weak, even considering the monk can go to 18th level with 18 four-sided hit dice. But that's not right according to this. It's not correct. Monks are not weak. They have no spell ability, cannot wear armor, use a shield, and not even flaming oil is usable by them. This seems to make a weak character class indeed. But this impression is false. For monks have their own special ability and defense, attack and defense capabilities. With respect to combat, monks attack on the same table as thieves. Now that's interesting because that changed right after this was printed. By the time of the Dungeon Master's Guide, a year later in 1979, monks had been moved to the cleric combat table, which is a slightly better table with a slightly better advancement for combat. Okay, in this part it says that monks score half an extra point of damage when they use a weapon in combat. So what this would mean is if my weapon does 1 to 6 and I do 4 points of damage, it would actually be 4.5. And then the next round when I struck the same target, and if I did another 2 points of damage, that would be 2.5. We would take the half from the first round, round it up, and now that would be 3 points of damage for a total of 7 for the 2 attacks. This got real confusing real fast, and we only allowed the half to apply if you were striking the same target. You can't do half a point of damage on Orc A and then do half a point of damage on Orc B. So that was really tough to track. And you don't get this bonus when you're using an open hand attack. So kind of a lot to remember there. Monks have a chance to stun their opponents, and they can stun or even kill an opponent. If they use an open hand attack and they score 5 or greater on the to hit than was required by the minimum. So if a 15 is required and a score of 20 would indicate a stun. The to hit score rolled by the monk is never modified by any strength ability bonuses. Chance to kill is a percentage that equals the armor class of the opponent modified by the number of experience levels above 7 which the monk has attained. Armor class -1 is a negative chance, but a monk of 9th level, 2 above 7, would have a 1% chance. I never saw that come up. I never ever saw anybody successfully roll that. Stunning, yes, we did see stunning, but I never saw anybody actually kill somebody by making that percentage roll. Monk's hand fighting also allows the monk multiple attacks as you get to 4th level and higher, and I'll take a look at the chart in a minute here. You make your saving throws as thieves, but gain certain advantages, and I believe that was moved over to the cleric's chart as well by the printing of the Dungeon Master, the DMG. So a lot of the thief stuff doesn't stay here, except of course some of the thief skills they get. They gain certain advantages. Non-magical missiles, arrows, bolts, blah, 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 which would normally hit, can be dodged or knocked aside if the monk is able to make his or her save versus petrification for each attack. So again, going to Kung Fu, where we see Kane batting aside some thrown spears. In other respects, the monk makes his saving throw against attack form. He will take no damage from the attack, even if the attack form was a fireball. For instance, a 9th level monk, Master of the North Wind, or higher, a monk who fails to make a saving throw will sustain 1/2 the potential damage for the attack form. So that is, a fireball would do 50% of total damage, but the gaze of Basilisk would still petrify the monk. That's confusing. Basically what it says is, even if you fail your saving throw, you would take only half damage. If you make your saving throw, you take none. A lot of this stuff was really confusing because so much what the monk gets and does is different than what's in other AD&D characters. Your surprise chance goes down by about 2% per level. This actually was pretty easy to track. If you're 10th level, it goes down 20%. So you do have a pretty good chance to surprise other creatures. You gain some thief abilities, specifically open locks, find and remove traps, move silently, hide in shadows, hear noise, and climb walls. And you do those at the same level of monk. So if you're 1st level monk, you do all those at 1st level. And we do give the dexterity bonus for that. It doesn't say anything either way, so we would give the dexterity bonus for that. Although the chance of falling while climbing walls is the same as that of a thief, the monk can escape damage as follows. At 4th level, a monk can fall up to 20 feet if you're within 1 foot of a wall. 6th level, you can fall 30 feet if you're within 4 feet of a wall. At 13th level, a monk can fall any distance if he or she was within 8 feet of a wall. And for this definition, a wall can be a cliff face, a tree trunk, anything that you could use. You touch it periodically to slow your fall, and then your great monk abilities let you land with no damage. Okay, now we get a look at the experience table. 2,250 with no 10% bonus for stats. So you're going up slower than almost everybody else that you're in the party with. But you do start with 2 4-siders. For our table, that would also grant you up to a +2 bonus for your Constitution. If your Constitution is a 16 or greater, you would still get +2. So that would give you a 4-sider and a 4-sider, and then 2 and 2. So at our table, you would get the first 4-sider at max, so 4. You throw the second, let's say you roll a 2, that would be 6, and then you would 2 more for the first con bonus, which would be 8, and 2 more for the second con bonus, which would be 10. So your monk would be starting out with 10 hit points, which is pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. And your progress is dreadfully slow. It takes this character a long time to get moving. I played my guy, I think I made it to 6th under these rules. I don't remember for sure. But I did change him over to another monk that came out a little while later, and I'll talk about that in the next video. These monks were these rules were painful to play a monk. Here's your ability table. Starting as a novice, level 1. You start at AC 10. Cannot improve that with dexterity. 15-inch move, which is nice. 1 attack per round. 1 to 3 damage. No special abilities. If it sounds like a monk is physically weaker than a magic user, you're exactly right. Because a magic user with even a modest dex bonus can get his armor class down to a 9, an 8, or a 7. I'm walking around at a 10 no matter what I do. And I can only do 1 to 3 points of damage with my open hand. Granted, I can do, with my weapons, I can do a little bit more, but it's tough. These monks are very tough to play as written. I'll leave it at that. You do get some bonus attacks, 5 to 4, which means you would get 5 attacks every 4 rounds once you start at 4th level. But that's hard to do. A lot of melee, there are breaks before you get to 4 rounds. It can happen, but it's tough. When you get to 3 to 2 and 2 to 1, that's pretty good. Note regarding special abilities. You can speak with animals as druids starting at 3rd level. You get power to mastermind. This ESP only has a 30% chance of success. And this drops by 2% per level, which is nice. 5th level monk is not subject to diseases or of any sort, nor affected by haste or slow spells. That's actually a really good power. The ability to use self-induced catalepsy to appear dead, so you go into a coma-like state. I've never seen anybody use that, including me when I played my monk. 7th level, the monk gains the ability to heal damage. The amount of damage that can be healed is 2 to 5 points plus 1, and this amount increases by 1 hit point for every level gained after. So it becomes die 4 plus 2 at 8th level, die 4 plus 3 at 9th, etc. At let's see, at F we're up to 8th level. The ability to speak with plants as druids do. This power is attained at 8th level, has its uses. 9th level, beguiling charms, hypnosis, and suggestion spells have only a 50% chance of affecting the monk. That is, the monk is 50% resistance to such magic. The resistance increases 5% for every level after. So a 10th level monk has 45% chance to be affected. Interestingly, this works differently than magic resistance, so we ruled at the table that this would not be modified by the level of the caster. This would always stay a flat percentage based on the monk's level. So that makes it a little bit better. Telepathic and mind blast attacks, like a mind flare upon a monk 10th level or higher, is made as if the character had an 18 intelligence due to the monk's mental discipline. Once you throw psionics out of the game, that power becomes limited utility. Over here at 11th level and higher, the monks are not affected by poison of any type. Geisha and quest spells have no effect upon monks of 12th level or higher. Kind of nice. Geisha interestingly, pronouncing that phonetically, being unfamiliar with the word, we always said Geas. The last ability gained, which is perhaps the most terrible, is a fabled attack called the Quivering Palm. You set up vibrations within your target. You have to activate the power, and then you touch your target, and then up to a week later, you can stop the vibrations, and the target drops dead. A lot of Kung Fu films had that, so I guess those were an influence on this as well. I used it when my guy got higher level, but limited utility there too. Monks can have they must abide by restrictions applying to armor, weapons, treasure, magic items, strength, ability adjustments, henchmen, and adjustment level as follows. Armor can never wear armor, cannot use shields. Monks, like paladins, cannot retain more than a small fraction of whatever treasure they get. They can retain up to, magic items. They can no more than 2 magic items and 2 magic weapons and 3 other magic items at any time. We had to expand that. The monk was already taking it on the chin enough that we had to expand that and allow him to take a little bit more. We use the same paladin, same limits as the paladin. Magic items usable by monks include all magical varieties of weapons listed that the monk can use. Rings and miscellaneous magic items which are usable by thieves. No other magic items of any sort may be employed by monks. Interestingly, Girdle of Giant Strength and Gauntlets of Overpower can be used by thieves, but it keeps saying that monks get no bonuses for strength. We ruled that meant monks got no bonus for natural strength. If they got unnatural strength through the magical belt or through the girdle or through the gauntlets, we did allow the monk to gain some benefits. There are too many penalties on this class. We had too many monks that just flat couldn't hit anything. Then it starts going into being able to hire hirelings and henchmen on a short-term basis. And then at 6th level, you can start having them on a regular basis. And then starting at 7th level, you have to fight for each progressive level. This is really hard. You have to fight somebody equal in level to you with no bonuses of any kind of magic or anything other than your raw ability. And if you lose, you go down to 1 point back into 7th level. So if I'm trying, or 7th level, so if I'm fighting to go to 8th level, and we look at the chart, 200,001 gets me to 8th level. If I lose that fight, I drop from my 200,001 back to 98,001. That's 102,000 experience points lost, basically on dice rolls. That's tough. It's one of the things that kept a lot of folks at our table from playing the class. We did do that. We kept that rule, and I fought my fights as he got higher level, and I actually won them. I lost one, but the DM determined, and he had written in his notes, he showed it to us, that the other guy was cheating, so I was granted the level anyway. And then when you get to 8th level, you gain a number of monks that will follow you, and you can retain some money to build up and keep a monastery or monastery-like headquarters that you can keep money for and build up. So there you have it. That's the monk. This was a tough class to qualify for and a tough class to actually play in. They had to clarify a few things in the Dungeon Master's Guide. I've got that marked here. And, of course, as I said, the DMG changed the combat chart for the monk. They went to the cleric combat chart, which is a little bit better than the thief chart, certainly once you get up to be 4th and above. They had to clarify for stunning and killing what maximum size you could have. So 6'6" with a maximum weight of 300 pounds. For each level above the first, the monk can gain the stunning kill ability at a rate of 2 inches of height and 50 pounds of opponent gained. So there's our chart. So if I'm all the way at 10th level, I can kill up to an 8-foot opponent who weighs 750 pounds. This gave a lot of problems because how much does a hill giant weigh? How tall is the hill giant? You know, you're really only killing maybe an ogre with that. So, yeah, it didn't really matter that much. And then the important stunning killing ability only applies to living things. You can't do it to undead creatures or golems. And it states clearly here that if you strike an opponent who is undead, the open hand attack works as if the creature had touched you. That's an important little bit of stuff there if you're dealing with undead who drain levels. The monk punching a vampire actually causes the monk to touch the vampire, and the vampire's energy drain automatically works based on this statement. That ended up solving a lot of arguments and creating a few others as we were playing the game. That was a point we went back to many, many times, that the undead, just by being touched, automatically drained 2 hit dice. That's pretty powerful. You shake hands with a vampire, you lose 2 hit dice. We had a lot of characters afraid to shake hands in AD&D. So all in all, there's your class. I did play my monk. I played him. I don't remember what level. I transited him from this write-up to the second write-up I'm going to do the video on. It was at some point around 5th or 6th level, I think. It might have been a little higher than that. I don't think so. I played him for about 2 years under this, and I played him a lot. He was one of my main characters. So if you can tell me why I named him Bloget Mayfair, I'd be interested in hearing back from you. And like I say, you get bragging rights if you can get it. No big deal if you don't. I'll reveal it sometime down the line. But there's a look at the monk class, and I've got to tell you, this is not a super class. This is not a great class. It's very hard to qualify for. You really don't get any real bonuses for being a monk until you get to be very high level, and getting very high level is staggeringly hard. There's just no way this class as written is really that viable. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if you just had a wonderful experience with this class as written and I'm wrong. But my monk was behind his fellow party members in power for a very long time. And he was tough to play. I really liked it. I stayed with it, but it was a really tough character class to play. And we didn't really make a lot of changes to help the character class out like we did with the MU. We kind of let it sit as it was. And as I said, I ran plenty of guys who played monks in from the original write-up. And as a DM, you've got to help them a little bit. But like I said, we didn't change much of the actual write-up. But as I said, we did allow the Girdle of Giant Strength and the Gauntlets of Ogre Power. We did allow a monk to use those and gain benefits for the strength, simply because he can use items that are usable by thieves. So that's all I've got to say today on page 121. Let me know your thoughts. This is part 1 of a 3-parter, so I'll be doing part 2 soon about the second iteration of the monk that saw play at our table. Please leave your comments below. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time on page 121.